Hello everyone, welcome to Study 101. Today we'll be doing How and Unaware from Graded History. So this is a really chapter that we need to take a note of and also make sure that you subscribe and like this video before starting. Now, when you look at history, there are two types of history. One are dates and the other are periods or movements. So let's take a very simple example. The day Gandhiji was born versus on the day the Dandi movement was started. We can classify a single date to the day Gandhiji was born, whereas we cannot classify a single day the Dandi movement started. It did start on a single day, but it took time for people to spread on it, and the Dandi movement did stretch from 3 to 4 months, which we cannot classify a single date to that. We can obviously classify a single year, but if a movement spread around 3 to 4 years, we can also not classify a single year to that movement. Now, history is about the changes that occur over time. It is about finding out how things were in the past and how things have changed in the present. For example, people did not begin drinking tea in one fine day. They developed the taste for it over time. Thus, a span of time refers to an approximate period over particular changes became visible. Now, dates become important because historians focus on a particular set of events. These histories, written by the British historians in India, the rule of each governor general was important. Taking a very simple example, suppose if I was a historian under the Mughal Empire, what will matter most to me and what I'll glorify the most is the Mughal Emperor, right? So if I'm a historian under the British rule or the colonial rule, what will matter most to me is the rule of the governor general. This is also such an example. Now, James Mill. Who was James Mill? James Mill was a Scottish economist and a political philosopher. He wrote a three-volume book, A History of British India. In this, he divided the Indian history into three periods: Hindu, Muslim, and British. Now, when we look at this classification is very, very, very wrong. How? See, our historians at this point of time have divided history into three different periods in order to capture the characteristics, while the British were prejudiced in classifying the Indian history. So their classification cannot be justified because because a variety of faults existed simultaneously among with Hindus and Muslims in these periods. Now let's take an example. If I take a specific period of year, um, up the north, different a ruler of a different religion would rule, while in the south, a ruler of a different religion would rule, and their whole population would not be of a single religion, right? We cannot hence classify that. Also, many historians therefore refer to the British period as colonial and not as modern, because when we want something to be classified as modern, we want the population's thought of mind to be non-stereotypical and modern, but that was not the case in India. Now, how do we periodize? Colonization is a process in which one country subjugates over another and thus brings political, economic, social, and cultural changes. Historians use different sources in writing about the last 250 years of Indian history. One important source is the official records of British administration. The British believed that the act of writing was important. Each instruction, policy, plan had to be clearly written up, and after it was written up, it was copied again by calligraphists. Now, what is colonialism? It is a policy or a practice of acquiring full or partial political control over another country. Events among the colonial period, the practice of serving also became common. Now, how do we get to know about what the history was past, what the history was in the past 250 years, either through service or either through census? Now, in the early 19th century, detailed surveys were held uh, among all the country to know about the land, to know the topography and things. In the end of the 19th century, census operations were held at the interval of every 10 years. Sorry. It prepared all detailed records of the number of people in the main provinces of India, noting information of caste, religion, and occupation. A number of official records provides information about the events and happenings of these times. Now, these are the main words that matter. Subjugation is the action of bringing someone or something under the domination or control, while archives is a place where historical documents or records of a government, an organization, or etc. are stored. Now, let's look at the main dates for this chapter. In 1773, Warren Hastings became the first Governor General of India. In 1782, James Rennie produced the first map of India. In 1817, James Mill published a massive three-volume work, History of British India. And in 1947, Lord Mountbatten became the last British Viceroy of India. So I hope you like this video. I hope you learn something new from this video. We cover this chapter in a very small time, covering all the important key points for this chapter. Make sure to subscribe and like this video and to share it with your fellow friends so that they could learn something new too.